It's the Church of Jesus Christ.
Over the last 4 years, illegal crossings at America's southern border reached an all-time high. Along with it came huge levels of deadly drugs such as fentanyl, human sex trafficking, and a spike in illegal migrant crime.
Tonight, along a roadway in southern Mexico, a seemingly endless stream of people making their way on foot towards the United States.
Since President Biden took office, nearly 10 million illegal immigrants have flooded into our nation. 77,000 pounds of fentanyl confiscated at the border over that time. You don't know how much got through.
A new Department of Homeland Security report suggests the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, ICE, cannot account for tens of thousands of unaccompanied minors. The report from the DHS Inspector General notes a number of issues, effectively blaming ICE for losing track of children who arrive alone at the border.
So what we've seen over the last 3.5 to 4 years, particularly along the southern border, is a historic crisis, a crisis of illegal aliens coming into the country illegally, and for a variety of different ways. So over that almost 4-year period now, you've seen about 12 million either illegal encounters or gotaways. So these are illegal encounters are folks that Border Patrol picks up, and then the gotaways are folks that get past law enforcement and past the Border Patrol and into American communities. And the impacts are actually far leading. What does this do? What does the illegal alien population do to your public health systems, your public safety systems, your education system? So when you have 500,000 children or more that have come in over the last 3.5 or 4 years, they all go into the public education system. English is not their first language. So what does that do to teacher resources? You need more bilingual teachers. And so these are things that these education institutions and systems haven't really planned for, because you can't plan for illegal behavior, right?
Along with disrupting systems, illegal immigration poses a direct threat to American citizens.
If we do not respect our laws, then we have chaos. And that's exactly what our nation is facing right now in the streets and the cities, in places like New York, where the stats show that a large percentage, actually the majority of crime taking place in New York City is courtesy of illegal immigration. So there's a price we pay when we do not respect the law. So many people have been murdered. So many women have been raped. We cannot be silent. We need to protect and make sure the law is enforced and those who come here are properly vetted to protect our wives, our children, and our families.
I just met someone that I've known for many years who was head-on collisioned with an illegal alien who came across the southern border at 100 miles an hour, and by God's miracle grace, she survived. She's walking around with a scooter today, but she is joyful and she was not expected to live. And that was because of chaos coming through our border that ultimately almost took a person's life. And unfortunately, in other cases, people have lost their lives. I mean, look at the gangs and the fentanyl that's been coming across the border. Those are killing Americans. Look at the terrorists that we know are in this country, and they're ready to strike against America and kill innocent people. We have to secure our borders.
Chinese-produced fentanyl and other drugs have flooded our border in recent years. The New York Times has reported that drug overdoses now kill more than 100,000 Americans a year, more than vehicle crashes and gun deaths combined.
Fentanyl is a big issue right now. Obviously, it has been for some time. And why is it a big issue? Because the cartels are empowered. They've been empowered over the last several years. They're making more money and have more power than they've ever had because of this human trafficking, right? We got to remember, when we talk about 10 million or 12 million illegal encounters, every one person pays the cartels between $10,000 and $50,000, right? Every person pays them, and so they have more money, which means to say they can smuggle more and more illegal narcotics, fentanyl, across that border in amounts that we've never seen before. And so the small amount that we're picking up at ports of entry and elsewhere, and we celebrate our encounters or our apprehensions of this drug, we're catching 10% maybe, right? So 90% or more are flowing through. And it's not only because the cartels are powerful, it's because We are not demanding more from the government of Mexico and from the Communist Party of China, which makes the precursors for fentanyl that then get flowed to Mexico and then come across our southern border.
When it comes to the issue of child sex trafficking due to open borders, the numbers are appalling.
So one of the least reported items of the crisis is the children, the number of children that have come across that border. So over 500,000 have been trafficked across that border. These are unaccompanied, what we call UACs, unaccompanied alien children. These are children that have come over without their parent, without a guardian of any kind, have been trafficked by these cartels. And again, the cartels don't care about human life. It's a commodity to them, right? And they deliver, and then they'll go back across the river, or across that border. And so you've had 500,000 trafficked. Where they are at, we don't know, right? Because there's reports recently about the U.S. government losing 330,000 of them in the immigration system. They don't know where they're at, right? Which is just startling, because they're probably with individuals that are furthering that trafficking, abusing them, or even worse. Some of them are probably in good homes, but we just don't know. And so when you have an influx of children like we've seen, you can't build the system. You've overwhelmed the system breaks down, and now that's why there's hundreds of thousands that can't be accounted for.
Ironically, those who support open borders in America won't tell you that most nations around the world have clear and defined borders, as well as strict immigration laws.
There's a big focus today on borders and sovereign borders. Now, it's interesting because we see a lot of hypocritical views on this, because there's very same people who are crying out about how Russia is violating the sovereign border of Ukraine, and I believe that they are, and I believe what they're doing is wrong, just to clarify that, are the same people that are ignoring what's happening at our southern border.
Under the new Trump administration, illegal border crossings have plummeted. In fact, according to NBC, encounters along the southern border are the lowest they've been since tracking began 25 years ago. But that doesn't undo the damage that has already been done.
What's happened in the last 4 years, that's not immigration. That's not border security. That's straight up open borders. That's what that was. That was an open invitation. We need great leadership that now we see this administration under Donald Trump and Tom Homan. The new leadership is doing something about it. Those levels have gone down, but it still doesn't deal with the multiplied millions that are already in the country.
And if you break the law, there's a consequence to it, right? Just like if you break the laws of gravity, the laws of physics, there's a consequence. If you break other laws, there's a consequence. And in this situation, someone who's come in illegally, there's a consequence to that, and that is you get put back where you came from. And if you want to come to this country, fine, our arms are open, but you have to go through the legal process.
But shouldn't Christians be compassionate and help all refugees?
When you talk about a border situation, lots of times people try to condemn and demonize and denigrate Christians, but God understands borders. You know, if you go back and you read in the Bible, when he cast Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, okay, he didn't let them come back in. As a matter of fact, he put an angel there with a sword of fire. He had his own border patrol, and they were illegal and they couldn't come back in. So, and if you read through the Bible, he outlines the borders for Israel. So God understands, the borders and boundaries, but he also understands our heart, and he is compassionate, but we have to follow the law as well. And so when people come out and try to, guilt trip Christians in standing for the law, I don't understand that. Because if you don't have the law, then you have lawlessness. And when you have lawlessness, then that lends itself towards the devil, who is there to steal, kill, and destroy. And he is going about the world prowling around and seeing who he can kill. So I think it's important that Christians stand up and say, we are compassionate people, but we also honor the law. And we'll be more than happy to go and have mission trips to these countries and help those people. But we have to protect our own people. We have to protect our own sovereignty. We have to protect our borders, because we have a right to do so under the law. Even Jesus said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's.
One of the big mistakes that Christians sometimes make is that they want to apply the ethics of the church to the state. I heard a pastor say, and I'm sure that he was compassionate and meant well, when he said, of course we should invite people into America and basically have open borders because, after all, the gospel is for everyone. Yes, of course, the gospel is for everyone, but that's not the role of the state. The role of the state is to keep order, to punish crime, and to keep its citizens safe. That's the role of the state. It is important that the church welcome everyone. That's the ministry of the church, but that is not the ministry of the state.